With that, Tom Brady, 7-time Super Bowl champ, Fox Sports, 23 NFL seasons. All right, boy, you got a good one this week. Lions-Rams. So it's interesting. When I watch and I ask this all the time, the other night I had a dinner with a GM in the NFL, and I love this question. I said, is it scheme or is it players? When you watch the Rams, do you see brilliant schemes? Is it talent? Because, man, when they need 11 yards, they get it. What are you seeing when you watch the film?
Yeah, first of all, it's good to be on the show. Why have you not invited me at all this season? I thought we were in a good rhythm last year. We go to the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden I'm like X'd out from the show. But I'm glad we could at least come on here before the end of the regular season.
All right.
It's been pretty awesome. I've covered them a few times this year. I think what Stafford and McVay have going between the two of them, they're just totally in sync. And you throw in these receivers they've got, obviously Puka and Devontae, the mix of tight ends. They had 4 pretty good tight ends. I know Higbee's on IR right now, but they're really using a lot of different personnel groupings. And then Corum last week was ridiculous against the Cardinals, over 100, I think as a team, over 250 yards rushing. So you got Kyron, you got Blake Corum, you got these tight ends. And one of the most underrated aspects of this team is the offensive line. These guys are playing ridiculous up front. There's not allowing penetration in the run game, allow, I think, the least amount of negative plays than any team in the league. So it's pretty awesome to watch. I'm fired up because it's Lions, one of my favorite offenses to watch with Jared Goff, and the Rams with Stafford. 2 kind of classic pocket passers. They play the game from their neck up. They obviously have great ability to pass the football, and they're throwing it to guys that are extremely talented at receiver. They got great run games, great coaches, aggressive coaches. So this is a perfect game for America's Game of the Week on Fox on Sunday at 4:25 Eastern.
So you were an outlier in terms of playing and being in incredible shape late. Stafford, you had some really, Dante Scarnecchia, you had good protection most of your carear. He got the you-know-what kick. Yeah, he got the you-know-what kicked out of him for years in Detroit until he inherited, Whitworth and McVay and the schemes. But when you did get older, let's take 39, for you maybe 43, for Stafford 37. Were there things you had to do as an older quarterback that you didn't at 27?
Oh, man. I think the processes just get better as you get older because you understand really what's important for you over the course of the season. So you don't waste any time being inefficient in the offseason with your training or in training camp. You don't waste throws. You don't waste workouts. Everything is like with the real intention to it. So I was very fortunate, 23 seasons. I mean, I still think I could play now, but it's just the thought of doing it and the commitment that it takes from someone like Matt or Aaron Rodgers. Like, they're committing year round for that. And that's a big commitment. It's like running a marathon. Yeah, everyone wants to run the last 3 miles like Phillip Rivers is doing. But it's hard to run all 26. And it's not just the running of the 26 miles. It's all the preparation for the running. And I think when you get older and you've got the life full of responsibilities, it gets just a little bit more challenging. But Matt's making it look awesome. He's just had an incredible season, MVP caliber season. And again, just to cover him again, I think for me, to watch him play and to watch his style of play and the kind of innovation on offense with McVay and how they each week find different little weaknesses to exploit on the opposing defense, that's an awesome thing to watch from the booth.
So obviously you can improve as any athlete, but somebody once told me this, a real smart GM said, you can't take a B-plus guy and make him an A-plus guy. You can take people up like a half a grade. You can take a B- to a B+, right? Like, there's this sense that, so, I mean, you were drafted in Major League Baseball. You had perfect size. You were underrepresented in terms of your skill. You didn't go from D to the greatest of all time. Like, so you were undervalued in the skill department. Your size, your arm strength was always top of the league, near the top. So when I look at Caleb Williams, I've argued he's never going to be Drew Brees. I don't need him to be Drew Brees because I got a horsepower and movement. Is there a line for you with a Josh Allen or a Caleb that they can do so many things with their horsepower that But is there a line with him you're like, okay, you got to get at least to 62, or do you not necessarily care about his accuracy right now?
Well, I always care about accuracy from a quarterback standpoint, because when you get to the bigger games and the playoffs and the defenses are better and the margin of error is less, you have to be an incredibly accurate passer. And the passing game is so important when you're behind in games, because, if you're playing with a lead and you're running the ball in play action and pass, a lot of times with play action pass, you can get guys open by, 3-4 yards of separation. So therefore you don't need to be as accurate. When you are down 28-3, you better be extremely accurate, because the windows are very tight. You're going to have to throw, 30, 40 passes in the second half and overtime of a game against a myriad of different coverages. So you're going to have to understand the strengths and weaknesses of all the coverages. I think there's a lot of ways to get the job done at quarterback. A lot of guys in the NFL have different skill sets. I do believe it's a passing league. It always has been. It always will be. You can benefit from a great running game, but when the rubber meets the road and you're in big time moments and you're in games where it's very contested, you're going against a team that's at the similar pedigree, you better be an elite passer, an elite processor. You better have great intangibles and resilience built up in you to be the leader of that team. And when I watch different guys play, I see that in them. Patrick Mahomes has that, Josh Allen has that, Jared Goff has that, Matthew Stafford has that, Lamar Jackson has that. There's a lot of guys that I love their style of play. The inaccurate guys, they have to work really hard at their craft to be better. There were certain things I was not good at. I was always a pretty good passer. I was really weak, kind of my physical strength was weak. I had to build up the durability in the pocket. I had to continue to learn the offense, because I knew that when the ball was in my hands, nothing good was going to happen with our offense.
Right.
So the faster I could get it out of my hands into the hands of Edelman or Welker or Moss or Mike Evans or Godwin or Gronk, well, then our offense was going to move. So I had to kind of decipher the coverage pre-snap, go, okay, This is the best place to go with the ball before the ball was snapped. If I didn't know where the ball was going before the snap, I didn't snap the ball. I would just get us into a better play. And that's why guys are wide open. Like, oh my God, he's what? Well, yeah, we got him open because I was able to develop a toolkit and a skill set to change plays at the line of scrimmage, to audible, to change protections, to change route combinations. I watched Peyton Manning do that for years. We just exploited the weak parts of defense. And the problem in the NFL today is guys aren't doing that. Guys aren't being developed through college, and then when they get to the pro, they're so far behind that the coach feels like, okay, I need to control this game from the sideline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all these pass plays progression reads. We're going to start on the right side of the field with the first receiver, second receiver, and we're just going to sweep the board and come across. And the problem is you never develop real autonomy at quarterback to get your team in the best play. You essentially become a robot for the coach. So the teams that I think have a great advantage going forward are the ones with the older quarterbacks who the coaches do give them the autonomy to say, okay, whatever you see out there, you can change the play. You can get us in the right play. We trust you. And therefore, in big moments, we're going to put the ball in your hands. And I think that's the best style of play for sustained success in the NFL.
So this week, I was never going to be 250 pounds and ripped. I have a genetic limitation, and I know that. Although I once dunked a basketball, Tom, no video surface, but I once did. But the point is,
I'll take your word for it.
Everybody has to. So I put up a screen. I said, I want everybody to look at these quarterbacks who are either leading in the MVP race, lead their division, or their name is Joe Burrow. And here's the graphic. 6'6", 6'6", 6'5", 6'5", 6'4", 6'4", 6'3", 6'3". I like Jalen Hurts. I like Tua. But Tom, you can't tell me. I've stood next to you. I'm tall. I look up at you.
Yeah.
It's 6.5, Tom Brady. I'm just saying I don't think you're hoisting as many trophies. So when people say, what's wrong with Jalen Hurts, as folks, he can't see as much. That's not a criticism, right?
Yeah, it's a great point. And if you just look at the history of quarterbacks in the NFL, how many below 6'2" and under have had, sustained success or up there in passing yardage? It's just hard because you've got to see over at least the center, who is typically the shortest guy on the field, because he's standing right in front of you, and he opens up the entire middle part of the field. So it's easy if you're not as tall to throw to the perimeter of the field because there's more vision out there. You're only probably working through a tackle. But when you're looking over the middle of the field, let's say between the hashes, you're looking between the right guard, the center, and the left guard. You've got to have the height to see over the top of people, and then the delivery has to be over the top of the offensive lineman and the defensive lineman. And those guys are big guys. Those guys aren't 5'10". Those guys are 6'2", 6'3". So you've got to have the arm angle to get the ball over them, and that opens up the middle part of the field. So what I see with a lot of guys who aren't as tall, they throw the ball more to the perimeter of the field. It's harder to throw the ball to the perimeter of the field because the ball has a longer distance to go, and you don't get as much run after catch. If you're running across the field in a short, shallow route over the middle, if you catch it, you've got 25 yards from the point you catch it in the middle to turn the ball up the sideline where you can gain a lot of yards after catch. So I think I'm not saying you can't be successful if you're under 6'2". It's just the chance of being successful is less. And yes, there are anomalies. I think Drew Brees is one of them. Yeah. Drew Brees played very tall. He was standing up in the pocket. A lot of times he was up on the balls of his feet. He had a very high release. The ball came out very quickly. So he found a way to, but he also worked at it extremely hard for a long time in order to make those improvements as well. And I don't think you can discount the fact that if you want to be successful in the NFL, you better have the drive and determination every day of your life, in season and off season, to try to go out and be the best in the world. You got to be brushing your teeth in the morning, thinking about your throwing mechanics, thinking about the calls your coach is going to make on third down, the anticipation you need to throw in a particular game. This has to be your life. It has to be so important that you're thinking about it all day, every day, certainly during the season.
So I had picked before the season, sometimes I get lucky, I said the team that's going to double their win total and make the playoffs that you think is bad is New England. I did not think Drake Maye would be this good this early. What was the first thing you saw with Drake? First thing you saw. You played the position and you went, oh, okay, that's beyond franchise. That's net. Because I think the NFL historically gives you a franchise quarterback every year through the draft. About every 5 years, you get a U. You get a Montana. That's rare.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just a TV viewer. What did you see that I couldn't spot early with this ascension?
Well, some of it is, Josh McDaniels is still one of my great friends. I mean, I've known him for 25 years, and he just talks about his work ethic, his willingness to get better and improve week in and week out. He's a sponge for information. And that's more important to me than what I see on the film, because when I hear that, I know that he's doing the thing it takes during the week that are going to show up consistently on the field. Other people, other coaches with other teams will say their quarterback, hey, he's the first one out of the building. He doesn't study, never opens his iPad. I hear that from time to time, and I go, okay, well, I could see why on the film, well, that guy's not being successful. So with Drake, he has the physical ability, he has the size, but I think in terms of physical skill set, his downfield passing ability is awesome.
Yeah.
So, Josh McDaniels has done incredible job this year for the Patriots. Drake is running the same system that I was in. I know how good that system is for quarterbacks, how Josh does teach these young quarterbacks all the different reasons why he's doing what he's doing, why we're trying to beat this coverage, or how we're going to protect to give you the best chance to be successful. So he's in a great system to be successful. Vrabel is focusing on the defense, as he should be. Yeah. Josh focuses on the offense. That offense, just like in the early 2000s, the offense is carrying the defense. Yeah. Just like in Vrabel's defensive days when I was a young second-year quarterback in New England. Yeah. That's the way it goes.
So we've had this argument this week. Everybody is telling me, they say, well, the Chiefs are just a little retool. I mean, they've got Mahomes and they've got Andy Reid. And I said, timeout. Name their 10 best players. I said, if you name the Seahawks, you get down to 8, and you're like, damn, that guy's the third best guy in the league at his position. You do the Rams, 10 best players. I'm like, man, Jared Verse is 3? He could be that.
Yeah.
You get to the Chiefs' 10 best. I'm not talking legacy and resume. And I'm saying, I think it's better than Buffalo's roster that I don't love. I think it's a little bit more of a rebuild. You know, once you took pay cuts for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
You start paying 55, 58 for a quarterback. Yeah. I think it's a bit more of a rebuild in Kansas City. Am I wrong?
It'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, we'll see how the season plays out. But they have Andy Reid, they have Patrick Mahomes, they have Steve Spagnuolo, Brett Veach, Clark Hunt. They got the foundations for success in Kansas City. So I know it's been not a typical year for them. I'm never counting them out until they're mathematically eliminated. I think when you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and you're competing against them, you should worry about them.
Yeah.
They are battle tested. They have proven that they're as competitive as anybody in the league. So there's always chances for every team. They're going to have to fix things at the end of every season. Every team's going to have to fix things at the end of every season. But when you have those two pieces in place, Reid and Mahomes, I think everything is a little tinkering. I don't think anything's a true rebuild when you have those two guys at the top.
Okay, so Phillip Rivers is going to play this week, and he's one of my favorite people that's ever played in the league. He is so genuine and authentic and funny. In fact, he was the first quarterback that ever told me, he goes, I got to be honest, I like the process better than the game. He goes, I love the week of practice. And he was a trash talker. Like, he's the all-time Southern trash talker. If I guess his high school is running the same offense. The idea, and by the way, he moved like a batting cage when he was playing. So the idea, if I said to you tomorrow, ring, ring, Tom, can you play Sunday? If you kind of knew the offense, could you generate drives?
Yes, I certainly could. But first of all, who retires and then unretires and then is ultimately going to retire? Who does that? Is that even? It's ridiculous. I mean, Phillip to do that. But good for him. I'm happy he's doing it. I think the answer for me would be yes. I'm not allowed to anymore because I'm an owner of a minority owner in the Raiders, so I can't unretire. But I'm very excited to watch Phillip play because if he's out there, I think it's just very cool. You know, it speaks to, you know, how much he loves the game and really what he's able to do still. And this game is about for the quarterback from the neck up. And we used to have a saying at Michigan, the mental is to the physical as 4 is to 1 at the quarterback position. And that doesn't really go away. That's still up there. Do you have the physical ability to still do it, take the hits, make the throws, the drops, you know, buy a little time in the pocket? And if Phillip has been practicing those things, then we're all going to see it on full display in Seattle on Sunday afternoon.
So I want to go back to Detroit Rams. It's the game you have. And I think it's interesting. Earlier this year, I thought Green Bay was a little broken offensively, but Matt LaFleur solved it. And I've said this for years, Tom. I would rather have an offensive coach than a defensive coach. That said, I think DeMeco Ryans, Vrabel, Mike McDonald are studs. They're great.
Yeah, great.
I look at Detroit, and I'm not sure week to week. They're not as good on third down. They're not as good at fourth down. But I want to go to a macro picture here because not every game for Tom Brady was great. Over the course of a season, you lose a left guard, and then your slot receiver shows up pregame and can't make cuts. How did you fix? Because the Rams haven't been broken this year. They've made changes. The Lions have felt there are weeks they're broken. How do you solve that? What is the first thing you would do if you're like, guys, the tape shows we're just not right. There's no rhythm. What do you do to solve that?
So I think the most important thing, and we use the term a lot, certainly on broadcasting, is we'll say complementary football. So when I was, for example, with the Patriots, and those were, 20 of the best years the NFL has ever seen in terms of a standard of excellence that was put out there on the field, is we tried to win all 3 phases of the game every week. It wasn't just these 3 parts of our team, offense, defense, special teams, will all operate independently. And you'd be very surprised that a lot of teams see them as 3 individual teams within the same team. But I knew we were going to win special teams every week because the emphasis that Bill Belichick put on special teams, not just from a meeting standpoint, but the types of players that he brought on the team to execute our special teams units, like Larry Izzo, like Matt Slater, like Nate Ebner, like Lonnie Paxton. We kept them as foundational pieces, so there was a standard of performance from special teams. So if we won special teams and we won offense, well, we won 2 of the 3 phases of the game. Not to mention, we usually had one of the top defenses in the league. So if we had, let's say, the best special teams unit and we won on defense and offensively we were injured, we would have to play maybe a little bit less aggressively. We'd punt a little bit more. We'd throw the ball a little less, or we'd run the ball a little more. We would do different things within our offensive scheme to try to complement the other pieces, because all we were trying to do was win that week. And I think what a lot of people miss out on is, okay, you're down this particular receiver. Well, what do? Well, we're playing the Colts, and they have a tremendous offense. The first thought on our offense was, let's run the ball a lot to try to minimize the amount of possessions we'll give the ball to the Colts. Let's run the ball. Let's control the clock. Let's try to win time of possession 35 minutes to 25 minutes, because if they're not on the field, they're not scoring. That's the best defense we can play. And every week there was a different formula. The urgency was there every week by our coaching staff, and that was communicated to our players about, this is how we're going to win this week. That's the most important thing. Not what are we going to do 2 weeks from now when other guys are healthy or other guys are injured or we don't know the strengths and weaknesses of that opponent. But we're going to evaluate the opponent we're going to play. We're going to see their strengths. We're going to see their weaknesses. We're going to try to attack their weaknesses, and we're going to try to mitigate their strengths in all 3 phases of the game. That is an urgency that is probably missing, a lot in the NFL. There's probably 3 or 4 teams that really do that, but most of them don't do that. And that's why when you get some injuries to a team, to one of those lesser teams, well, they are screwed, because if their slot receivers down or their tight ends down or their quarterbacks, they're not going to score points. And if they don't score points, they're not going to win.
I'll wrap it with this. Last week was one of the first weeks, maybe the week before, that I watched football and I thought, good God, this looks miserable. It looks so cold. It's snowing. It's awful. I have this sinking suspicion that you actually liked cruddy weather because you viewed it as an advantage, because you were a great lousy weather. Your ball, your hip movement, you were a great crappy. I've told you that Chicago game in Soldier Field, left sideline. I remember watching it thinking, that is a perfect cold weather throw. So when the game looks miserable, were you sitting there on Wednesday thinking, oh, Peyton's going to be cold. He plays in the dome. I can't wait. Did you like it?
Absolutely. I looked at the weather more than anybody in the history of the NFL. My weather app was on overdrive during the football season, constantly looking at the conditions we were playing in, the conditions that our other teams in our conference were playing in. And because we were in New England and we really never practiced inside, we got so used to all the elements. We got used to the wind. I had to really work hard to throw a very tight spiral. I worked on my mechanics incessantly so that I could drive the ball through the wind, and the tighter the spiral was, the more it could penetrate the wind. So I knew I had to throw a tight spiral. I knew I had to keep my body warm, and how was I going to keep my body warm? How many layers was I going to wear? How many did I wear the scuba suit if it was below 20 degrees? When did I put it on? You just get so good because you practice in it all year round. In the springtime, we'd go back in April, we'd have 45-degree days in the rain. We'd be outside working out. So you just get accustomed to that environment. And now this time of year in the NFL, in the Northeast, in the Midwest, these outdoor games, they come down to weather 80% of the time. So you better be good in it, and you better embrace it rather than see it as a big disadvantage. And that's what we did. We always saw it as an advantage. The shittier the weather, the better we are going to go out there and play.
By the way, the broadcasting thing, you're having fun. Listen, I told you, I said this off the air to you. You asked me before your first game. I said something like, listen, you're going to be nervous. I should have really said something nice. I was like, Tommy, you're going to be nervous for the first 5 minutes. And you're like, oh, thanks. Really, that really helped a lot, Colin. But I think broadcasting is similar to football. It's just reps. It's like work, reps. And I will just say this. Are you enjoying it as much as it appears you're enjoying it?
Yeah, I could not have imagined the transition being any more fun and enjoyable than it's been. I have the greatest team in the world, the greatest partner in Kevin Burkhardt, Aaron and Tom, Dean Blandino up there with me in the booth, the people that work with us, our whole crew, our director, Rich and Richie, our producer, our whole crew, our graphics team, everybody in the truck, our cameramen. We have so much fun. It is such a team environment. We give each other shit all day. We laugh all day. And we get to cover football. And the only thing you want as a broadcaster is a good game. I'm rooting for good game, for good football. I want to see guys perform I want to see quarterbacks play well. I want to see them read the defense. I want to see good blocks. I want to see hard hits. I want the viewer to really understand why this game is so fun to watch, and then teach them a little bit along the way about, different things that may come up. But it's such an entertaining medium, and I think I've really enjoyed it. And it's gone on. You continue to gain more confidence about what your role is, and I just know our best is yet to come.
Good seeing you. You're always welcome. I don't. They ask me. I always tell management. I say, don't bother him. He's busy. He's always welcome. But you're always welcome. So we just love having you on, and I appreciate that.
Thanks, Colin. Yeah, you do such a great job. You keep up the great work. You're always on top of everything, and it's amazing what you do every day. So keep up the great work yourself.
All right. Thanks, Tom.